When I was in 2nd grade, I was in my art class, sculpting a cat out of clay. When the boy next to me looked at it and said, "Yuck, that's terrible," my entire table laughed at me, and with tears in my eyes, I went to the trash can and I threw the cat away. I never tried sculpting again. Many people have had a similar experience when someone, perhaps a friend or classmate, has shut them down. As a result, they've opted out of embracing their own creativity. The biggest example of this, and one that all of us have experienced, is today's school system. In it, subjects like math and science occupy the top of the subject hierarchy, while the arts sit squarely at the bottom. Now, children are born with an unapologetic sense of expressing their own creativity without fear of judgment. But as time goes on, we begin to lose the ability to express that creativity. Remember being a kid? You played with Legos and you pretended you were an explorer sailing the high seas. You asked questions like, "Why is the sky blue?" and "Are there aliens out there?" Then you went to school. The questions you asked are not part of the curriculum and they aren't going to be on the test. So you decide to stop asking why. Now, the educational system today places a very large emphasis on the rote memorization of information. But in fact, in 1914, when Frederick Kelly invented the first standardized test, he said that standardized tests are not accurate measures of aptitude or intelligence. But the amount of standardized tests that we take in the United States is staggering. According to PBS, the average American student between grades kindergarten and 12th grade takes over 112 standardized tests. 112 standardized tests. That is over 8 standardized tests per year. Testing has become such a large focus of education that we've forgotten education's true goal. The goal of education is to fuel curiosity, encourage creativity, and create well-rounded human beings. Now, the long-lasting effects of creativity loss are quite serious. A study conducted by William and Mary College found that children today are less imaginative, less passionate, and less creative than ever before. Additionally, students today are not able to express creativity in schools. This is a true problem, and we need to do better. Now, when we think about ways to change this, we need to also think about the impact that this is going to have on our schools. According to Forbes, over 40% of American students are chronically disengaged in schools, and this number just grows as we grow into adults. In fact, 70% of adults are chronically disengaged with their jobs, costing over $550 billion in productivity every year. Now, this can be attributed to many factors, but it stems from a rigid education system that leaves little room for creativity. So what can we do about this problem? A person who has done a wonderful job of bringing creativity into his own work is David Kelly. David Kelly is the founder of IDEO, a globally renowned design and innovation firm, whose clients include Apple, Nike, and Procter & Gamble. IDEO is responsible for revolutionary products like the Swiffer and the first Apple mouse. David Kelly credits his enormous success to his unorthodox approach in helping people embrace their own creativity. He places people with diverse worldviews, such as doctors, opera singers, and anthropologists, all in one room, and has them share their ideas with each other. Applying this kind of attitude in schools would go a long way in helping creativity and education to become increasingly intertwined. There are many other things that we can do to help bring creativity back to our schools. We need to shift our focus away from standardized testing. A council of the great city schools found that of the countries that outperformed the United States on testing, including Poland and Finland, these countries only administer standardized tests 3 times over students' careers, as opposed to our 112. We can clearly see that this amount of tests is not only unnecessary, it's actually causing harm. And the American Federation of Teachers found that students spend 15% of their instructional time on preparing for and taking standardized tests. Now, this time could be much better spent on collaborative, hands-on projects that would go a long way to further individualized education in the United States. Another thing that we can do to bring creativity back to our schools is to vote to protect arts programs. Since 2008, funds have been cut in over 80% of American schools. And when funds are cut, the very first programs to disappear are often art, music, and foreign language programs. These programs are absolutely essential in furthering overall growth of students, and we need to keep them in our schools. Another thing that we must start to do is valuing aptitude in subjects equally. While math and science are constantly taught and valued in schools, students who are skilled in areas like painting, singing, and dancing begin to feel like their talents are unappreciated and unvalued, and as a result, they begin to distance themselves away from their true passions. Showing students that we value all types of intelligence, from analytical to artistic, would go a long way in not only changing the way that students perceive themselves, but how students perceive each other. Now, I'm not an expert in education, but I believe that students deserve a voice in the educational system. After all, we are the ones being educated. Many adults have written about changing education, but what good does that do if we continue to ignore the voice of the very students themselves? Creativity is not a test to take, and it's not a skill to learn. Creativity comes from pursuing your passions. Creativity is the ability to see an empty canvas and visualize a work of art. Creativity comes from following your dreams. Now, more than ever in the 21st century, the world needs creative people. Adults often say that we need to be the leaders of tomorrow. But in order to do that, we need to become the leaders of today. If we invest in and change the present, the future will take care of itself. Thank you.